Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Hi, I am Sylvia Hayes, and you are watching Good News at Primetime. Today we're gonna have a discussion, shall I say, on coping with separation and loss. You know, a lot of people have problems, emotional problems during separation and during a loss. You lose a loved one, a lot of people can't cope with it. So we're going to talk about coping with separation and loss, coping with death, coping with just your loved ones leaving, going to another town, or whatever it may be. Because you may not know it, but a lot of people cannot cope with separating. There are men who leave their wives. Well, I won't say leave; they will mistreat them, cheat on them and all that kind of stuff. And then when the woman get ready to leave them, no, you can't leave me. That's the way they feel. I'm not gonna leave you. I'd rather see you dead than you leave me. And a lot of men do that. They kill their wives, kill their children because they'd rather see them dead than see them with another woman. Now, right now, every 16 hours, listen to me, every 16 hours, a woman is killed by her intimate significant. Now, every 16 hours, be it her husband, be it her boyfriend, or whatever, they are killed because they want to leave, and the man is not going to let them not going to have that. They are somewhat aggressive and possessive. That's the way I would put it, aggressive and possessive. Firearms, is with them releasing it, letting people get firearms now without doing all the registration and everything, the background check. It increases the chances of women getting killed by men. Okay, so we need to do something about that. We need to talk to our representative and have some kind of laws on our books, and we need to be more alert too. Because if you know that you are with a spouse who has bad manners, who temper is not good, you need to protect yourself because they can easily get a gun. You never know. You never know. But before we get to that, I just got to give you some good news. As you know, I am the author of Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful. Power Thoughts. Let me get that right. Okay. Empowering you to be successful. You know me, I'm always promoting my book. Always. And my supervisor, I gave her one of my little cards about my book, and she photographed the back and the front, and she sent it to her grandchild, her nephew, and some more people, right? Her grandchild read the information about my book, the intro about the book, and it literally saved his life. When my supervisor told me that today, it was like giving God praise. I have just saved a child's life, because she was saying that his friend went to rob somebody because they hang out together. He goes to rob somebody. Her grandson stayed home after reading that information from my book. He stayed home and didn't do it. But the boy went ahead and robbed somebody. Now the person he robbed is out to kill him. So her grandson was saved. And it's like, thank God, because that's my goal, is to save people, and especially the younger generation, because they don't know what they're doing. And that just that little information he read from my book made him stay home and practically might have saved his life. Who knows though? But from what I'm getting, that guy is out to kill the dude who robbed him. So I gotta thank God. That book, the book is so powerful. It will, like I said, literally save your life. I've had mothers to buy my book to help raise their children. I've had other people who just, it changed their lives, their mental attitude and everything. So you got to get the book, Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. And you can get this book. Go to my website. That's what you do. Go to my website, ankproductions.com. ankproductions.com. You can go there and get my book and read it and enjoy it. Share with everybody, because it is a life-saving thing. Okay, so now I've gotten all of that out of the way. Let's bring on my co-host, Reggie Drummer, who's going to help us with this conversation, coping with separation and loss. Hey, Reggie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great there, Miss Sylvia, and to the audience out there. Big shout out. This is a good topic. I definitely want to encourage everyone to like, share, and subscribe over here at Square Mile Media Atlanta. Put those notification buttons up as we continue to hold up our own end. But, we're on a subject tonight that's really exciting. And when you said loss, coping with loss, separation and loss, even when I know we're going to be talking about relationships, but there's relationships between guys. There's relationships between men. Sometimes I was reminded of a story where a guy was on his way to play college football, and his best friend couldn't deal with loss. Now, he didn't kill him, but he coerced him into going out doing one more robbery before he got to go to college. And guess what happened?
You got killed.
He's behind, but he got shot, and behind bars. Now, when they trace it down, that whole scenario was based on the fact that the guy that had no skill sets, that had no particular future, just wasn't ready for the separation between him and his best friend. So we see it in all forms of life where people hate to see somebody go. You got mothers and fathers. You got some mothers keep their daughters. They don't let them leave the house because they got coping skills dealing with separation. Won't chase up, not to get deep, but I remember this lady. She was chasing all the boys away from her daughter. Daughter about 70 years old. They never been married. She kept everybody away from her. 70. She's about 70 now. Yeah, you know what they call them? Old maid. She turned her into old maid because she just couldn't deal with the separation of her daughter, her precious daughter. She only had one child, and that daughter, I don't know, she might be a nun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that separation thing, it can't go deep.
Hard.
I had a problem with my sister, because she got married before I did, right? And like, I'm accustomed to us doing things together. When I'm ready to go, she could go. But then after she got married, it's like I have to ask my husband. I'm going, what you got to ask him for? Just go. I had a problem with that. It was like he took my sister away from me. But
oh yeah,
I'm good now. I'm good. I've accepted it. I'm good now. Yeah. But we also have another guest that we're going to bring on. Um, Her name is Miss Betty Clemens. Hi, Betty. How are you?
Hi, Sonia. Hi, Sylvia. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah. So we have the topic separate coping with separation and loss. Oh, before we get started, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I am the author of a book entitled Finding Life After Divorce, A Spiritual Pathway to Healing and Peace. It's really based on my own experiences going through divorce with my own, marriage situation. The title is Finding Life After Divorce, A Spiritual Pathway to Healing and Peace. It's not only just good for people that have gone through divorce, also for people that have gone through long-term relationships that didn't work out. Now, about my background, I have taught for the DeKalb County Schools for the last 29 years, and I was a math teacher. And I recently retired. I have
Oh,
two
okay.
children. I have two children. My daughter is an engineer, and she lives in Dallas, Texas. And my son just recently graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design with a bachelor's degree in animation. And I
Okay.
retired. I retired from the DeKalb County Schools.
So did I. But I beat you. I retired before you did. Yep. But I retired from the Cab County too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, welcome.
I think that my book really fits into your title of separation and loss. It is because a lot of people go through a lot of changes with divorce, not just with themselves, but how to deal with the in-laws, the outlaws, the people that never liked
Mm,
you anyway. You
Uh,
know what I'm saying? They didn't like you anyway, so now they ain't got no reason to be nice to you. Your children, you know what to do with your children, how you handle relationships when he finds another woman in his life. If you didn't want him, so you still need to let your children develop that kind of relationship with that woman so that when my children are with her, they get treated well, you know.
yeah.
So that's the main thing of what my book is about, is trying to cope with those type of situations in a very Christian attitude.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And some people they were having problems with their in-laws in the beginning, but then if they get separated and they have kids, that might cause a problem also with having the kids to go see their relatives. And they do need to keep that relationship, even though you don't get have a good relationship with your in-laws. Hopefully, the kids will, because those are their relatives and they need
Mhm.
that,
I
so
personally put all of their in-laws numbers on the speed dial. We could push one button, there's Uncle Bob. Push the other button, there's Uncle Frank. Push this button, there's Auntie Mary. And so the kids had access to anybody in that family because I didn't want to ever think that you cut me off from part of my life.
mm,
right, yeah. And then that's important too, because I had one cousin who my parents separated when I was young, and she said she couldn't understand why she couldn't come visit us. you know I didn't know that was happening because we would always go see my grandmother and my aunt, but they were young too. She couldn't understand that. So that's important, to always know who your relatives are, because you don't want to grow up. You don't want your kids to grow up and go to another state and marry their cousins because
That's
they
true.
didn't know. So that's important.
And
well, ladies, uh, and welcome, Miss Clemens. As a male, sometimes when you go focusing on divorces, we've done sessions with men, and some men are like, yeah, yeah, I'm ready to go, yeah, I'm ready to go, but they find themselves a lot later being separated from the family because all the children cater to mama. All the children go over to mama and her relatives. Men find themselves not doing the holidays. When you see a lot of these brothers, they got in their ways. They say, I don't celebrate Christmas because they don't. Nobody's inviting them to Christmas parties. Nobody's inviting them to New Year's and Valentine's, all the holidays. The kids kind of cater to mom. My parents divorced when I was 6, and we went over with my mother's mom, who's my grandmother. Uh, I had limited. well, my dad would come by, but I had limited uh, experience after the age of 7 with my paternal grandmother and her people, her side, you know. And then fast forward, even in as I went through life and got a divorce, you know, well, it was a little different. My son, he did hang out with me a little bit more, but you know, there was a little different thing because you know you don't want to go in there and and some people can't handle seeing new people with the people that they used to know. Somebody else saying, you know, hugging them and all that type of stuff. So sometimes guys have a lot more of having to let go. Women, believe it or not, I know women say they cry, they go to the barber shops and I mean the beauty salons and cry and stuff, but to look like the men take it harder. In either you ladies' opinion, do you see women coping with loss a lot different than men?
In my experience, it was totally different because my family lives in another state. And so most of his family live here in Georgia. And so my kids spent most of the time with them. But I had this
Mm.
wonderful mother-in-law. She was a really nice lady. And she would invite me to everything that they had. She made sure that I was invited as well. It got to be awkward sometimes, because I'm there, his ex-wife, and his girlfriend is there too. But
Mm.
yeah, but if you want to work through situations where and be cordial and Christian, there's no reason why all this hate has to be. If you're separated and divorced, there's no reason for all the animosity that goes on. You just let it go. That part of your life is gone. That chapter's over. You're moving forward. He's moving forward. So let's just let it go. And like I said, I was invited to everything. Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, and I'd be right there with his girlfriends. No, really, I interviewed some of them honestly to see if they would be a good fit with my children.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and you know
Okay.
what? And that's important too because sometimes these step parents they don't treat the kids right. Because I remember in Mississippi, this lady she killed her stepdaughter. And the girls were
Ooh.
about 6 or 7 years old. The stepmom killed her.
Mm.
So and sometimes they mistreat them. So yeah, that's a good thing to interview them and see
I
what they're
mean,
like. Because sometimes if you're not on good terms with the girlfriend, then she'll take it out on the kids.
right.
You know,
I tried always to be on good terms with the girlfriend. They would introduce me, and then the awkward silence would follow. And I said, "Oh, I'm Charles's ex-wife. I'm his ex-wife." And oftentimes the girlfriend would go, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I'm the ex-wife. I just come. I bring the kids." But as the kids got older and older, and as I started to date, I stopped going as much.
yeah, yeah. It is. How did he react to that?
I think that he got a kick out of it egotistically that two women were there with, look at him smiling, that two women in his life was there. I think he got a kick out of that kind of sort of sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. So
Well, you said an interesting thing. I don't think guys can handle it that well if they saw the lady with 2 or 3 guys. Coming. They try to get into the control factor about, oh, you got all these men around my. They get real, daddy like. And because I've had ladies that told me, they said, well, I got to be careful because my ex-husband don't want everybody to see, to be around their kids. So sometimes there's a controlling factor. Uh, you reminded me, and you say how men feel. I remember, and my dad, he had, well, that was my mom, that was my stepmom, and my brother's mother. They was all there together, so it was kind of interesting. But anyway, we got a question. Is this your first book, and what motivated you to write it?
Well, yes, it is my very first book. I mean, I've written poetry, but I haven't published that. But it is my first book. And what motivated me to write it is that I saw so many people that were broken when they went through a divorce, just not knowing how to cope with it, not knowing how to pray themselves through it. honestly, they're like steps of forgiving yourself. Nobody was the perfect wife or the perfect husband. You just have to realize, okay, I brought something into this relationship that failed. With me, being accomplished, I did this and did that and did this. Then you have to forgive yourself for failing. There's a part of that
Mm.
that you brought into the relationship. And yes, I wanted to see that people were healing on a pathway of healing on account of this is how you handle having your kids with somebody other woman. This is how you handle your ex-laws that are now really the outlaws. This is how you handle yourself when you're trying to get yourself back together today. Nobody wants to be invited into the zoo. That's you. You know, they you need to take the time to get yourself together before you involve yourself in something else. There were so many people just not handling it right, and that's why I wanted to write the book to just help because
Mm.
I felt like the steps that I went through, honestly, God guided me through every step, and then I felt that other people could benefit from it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot of people do need help because sometimes they have these pity parties, especially
Mm-hmm.
when they don't
Ooh.
expect to be separated. Because there are times when a man just decide, I don't want this anymore, and just up and leave the woman, and she had no clue, and so that is hard on a person, so yeah. But then the way I look at, I pay attention. I pay attention to their actions and stuff like that. Sometimes they might catch me off guard, but then if uh if a man is verbal or emotional abusive, and if they decide to leave you, that's the time you should be parading. Hey, I'm gone, free. But then there's this emotional attachment. I've been with this person all this time. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want him to leave me. I love this man.
Exactly.
But then this is the other side is like he's abusive and he's talking to me bad, and I don't like that. So there's a
You
catch
can't
22 on that one, I guess.
you really can't stay you, for any type of self-worth that you have for yourself. You can't stay in an emotionally or physically abusive relationship. You just can't
Mm.
if you have any kind of self-worth for yourself. But you're right, Sylvia, it's a two-edged sword. You are used to that person. You're used to coming and going and cooking and eating and sleeping with them and just having them around. And it takes a while, even though it might have been abusive, it takes a while to be able to separate yourself from that, to know
Mm-hmm.
it's not him that I love. Or maybe I do love him, but I don't love his behavior. I can't live with that
Mm.
behavior. It takes a minute to just sort that out in your own mind.
Yeah. And then and two, if you want to get rid of it, way I did with my ex, I put it in my mind, this is enough, I'm done. So mentally I separated from him before I physically separated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a step. You don't all of a sudden go bam because it's harder when you do it that way.
And it's like forgiveness too. Forgiveness just doesn't happen, bam, one day, I forgive you. It doesn't happen like that. At least it didn't happen that way for me. I had to consciously think. He'd come pick up the kids and then say something, it's kind of that would, he knew every button I had. I mean, we lived together, so he knew what buttons to press. He'd come pick up the kids, he'd press a button, and I'd say to myself, no, I'm not going to react the way he wants me to react, and I forgive you. And I'd be saying it in my head every time. He pressed the button. No, I'm not going to react the way you think I'm going to. I'm going to forgive you. And I'd be saying it in my head over and over. No, don't react. Forgive. No, don't
Mm.
react. Forgive. And it's a conscious, day by day, step by step decision to forgive. He don't even have to be around. You start thinking about something that he did and you just get mad and you go, no, stop. I've chosen to forgive. And so
Wow.
and I found that day by day, little by little, there were less and less times that when I thought of him that I got angry and got to a point that he could come over and he could press all the buttons that he wanted to press. And I would just sit there and smile and go, nope, not happening. You came to pick up the kids.
Mm.
You didn't came to emotionally involve me because that's what he needed. He needed me to be emotionally pulled into some drama. Nope, not buying.
Yeah,
I
Mm.
forgive you.
yeah.
Let's go on.
Yep, that's the way you do it. Cause I got to a point where I didn't
Well,
care where you came or went, you know. So when
I
you
mean,
get there,
mm,
you good.
no, I care about him. I care about him to this day. We married in 1990. We divorced in 1998. And I care about him to this day. He's the father of my children. If something happened to him, their hearts would be hurt. So I do
Yeah.
care about him. You know, he went on a vacation somewhere, and I said, just make sure you got good insurance. You know,
Yep. Yep.
he went
I understand
out of
that. I mean, yeah, I mean the love for him was still there, but didn't want him,
it's
you
not
know.
love
I
anymore.
mean, because
It's general
again, he is the
concern.
father of my children.
General concern went from
mm.
love
Huh.
to general concern. I have general concern for you as I would any other human being. You know, so
Well,
it's a
well, you
lot
know
to
what, ladies? I think I like how you all categorical put that in categories. I think sometimes guys, uh, well, guys, well, I say younger women might not have those same capabilities. Uh, you know, there would be guys that if you broke up with somebody, that was gonna break your car window, scratch your car, throw a rock in your window, or something like that. Well, that's escalated. But as men get older, I find men to be more possessive of the women in their lives, whether it be a girlfriend, it could be a guy that's a sugar daddy. He already know. Uh, I had over the years uh, witnessed two incidents where men actually kill the women that were not the main women. They couldn't deal with the fact that they said, well, I'm about to leave. I got a good job. I'm about to leave up out of here. And it would be simple things like that. And they could not let go. And that drove them to a side where they wanted to kill them, versus letting them go. Uh, so do you find it's easier as a mature woman to let go, or was it easier when you were younger?
oh, it's much easier. That's why I wrote the book honestly, because I found so many people involved in the drama of separation. It doesn't have to have that much drama. It doesn't. And a
Well,
lot of people, the feelings are real and you want to act on them, but you have to bring that to submission under the law of Christ. You know, God will help you. You say, "Oh, I can't do that." But yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can be nice to him. You can be nice to another woman. You can even be nice to him when he tries to stop you from going out on a date. You know, you because you've evolved more spiritually, and it has to do really with spiritual growth.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, me, I've had a nonchalant attitude about guys from the get go. To be honest, because I would drop them like that. I mean, because I remember one time a guy didn't buy me a birthday present. I dumped him. You know, that's how easy it is for me. It's like, no, if I see you cheating, bye. And I didn't believe in giving second chances. No, you
Wow.
got one chance and that was it. I guess I was just a hard cookie when it comes to
No, I don't.
relationships and guys.
I
Yeah.
don't think so. I think when somebody shows you who they are by their
Uh-huh.
actions, then you need to believe that they'll repeat that action. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Mm.
so there's no point in staying with a guy to let him constantly cheat on you and constantly make you unhappy. He's shown you that he doesn't value you. So why
Yeah.
should you be there?
Yeah. And so me, it's like I love me. I love me more than I love you. So I'm not gonna let you abuse me. I'm not gonna let
Mhm.
you just treat me any kind of way. The way I look at it, I'm a queen and you should treat me as such. I'm not gonna accept anything else. I'm not gonna accept you downgrading me. I'm not gonna accept you hitting me or any of that kind of stuff. And I'm not gonna accept you call yourself controlling me. That don't work either. I don't let nobody control me, and
I'll be
definitely
honest.
don't let them hit me.
I'll be honest with you, Sylvia. I really loved my husband. I did. I wanted my marriage to stay. I wanted to stay married. When I felt that things were in danger, I went to his mom. I learned how to cook everything that he liked to cook, and I started cooking it. I read
Hmm.
Cosmopolitan magazine, and I learned how to, try to do some different things. I tried to redo my hair. I tried several things. I prayed every single solitary day for about a year.
mm,
And then when I saw no significant change, I said, well, there's one change now that I have to make. I've got to leave this relationship. You can love somebody
mm,
as much as you want to, but that does not guarantee that they will ever love you to that same degree. And it's
Yeah.
hard to accept. It really is. It's hard to accept, but it's true.
Yeah. And some guys, they take advantage of that love too. They say, she loves me, she not gonna leave me, I got it okay. And they honestly believe that, because I ran across this guy who would cheat on his wife. He had a baby by another woman,
mm,
and his wife forgave him. I'm going, why you keep cheating on her? She forgave me. I'm not gonna leave my woman, but I just gotta go out there. It's like, that's
mm.
wrong.
See, she set herself up to be treated that way.
Yeah.
In relationships, it's like a tennis game. If you hit to the left, he's got to go to the right to hit it back to you. Whatever you give out, it's a relationship. Somebody else got to react to. When you start doing different things and they're going to do the same thing, then you know that relationship isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So we're talking about separating. And by the way, you're watching Good News at Primetime, everybody. You're watching Good News at Primetime, and we're talking about coping with separation and loss. So now let's talk about the loss of loved ones. How people can
Mm,
cope with that. I know this guy whose daughter got killed. She was about 15. She was killed in a car accident,
mm,
and his other daughter was like 30, 40 some years old. That far difference, not in age, but that many years ago, because I think they were close in age, but she was like 40 some years old when I met her, and
mm.
the father was still grieving. This years and years later, he would get drunk constantly because of his daughter's loss. And so I need to find out. Well, for me, it's like, okay, enough is enough. Somebody need to do something. I know you grieve and grieve a long time, but for me, okay, I had a friend. When Fred died, for a long
Right.
time, I grieved, because we were pretty tight. Okay, we did shows together. He went to Mississippi with me with all my groups when I went down there to do the homeless thing, and we did shows together. We started the television show together, so I kind of latched onto him, I guess, a little bit. But when he died, for a while, I was emotionally hurt. But then one day I said, I don't want to hurt anymore. And once I said, I don't want to hurt anymore, that burden instantly lifted up, and went away, and I didn't hurt anymore. So
Mm.
I'm wondering, how can people do the same thing? Decide that they don't want. Some people, they just want to grieve. They want to be in that pity
Oh, yeah.
because they feel sorry for themselves. They just hurt and they just want to do it. But do you feel that there's a time when you should want to live on and not grieve as much? I know the pain gonna be there forever, but if you let it go, it will go. If you let the pain go, it will go. I mean, it's gonna take a while, but as the time goes by, the pain will get less and less and less. So do y'all feel that the same way, that it will get better? People should grieve as long as they want to, or what?
There's a certain time frame that you should grieve. You should let your feelings, because the feelings are real. And if you
Yes.
flush them down and try to pretend that they aren't there, they're going to come back some kind of way. So yeah, there's a time frame when you should let yourself grieve. Just let yourself pull out the tissue and just let yourself go with it for a few. But then after a while, you have to think about it. I don't know. I'm just more of a spiritual being. I don't believe that our lives stop when we leave this body. I believe it's a transition. We leave this body and we go on somewhere else. The spirit is eternal, the body is just temporary. And so when you leave here, it's not like you're gone forever. Your spirit still lives on. Now, if I had left been the one that departed, and I came back in and I saw you in such pain, I wouldn't want you to be doing that about me. I would want you to celebrate the time that we had together, remember the fun we had together and the funny things we did together, but I wouldn't want you to sit around crying and doing all that. Not about me. I would want you
Right.
to go on with your life. But there is a time that
Yeah.
your feelings are there and you don't deny the feelings. Go ahead and cry. But after that, give yourself a little while to do it. But after that, you need to think about it. Is this person really gone? No, this shell is here, but their spirit lives on. And I probably will see them again someday. But right now, I'm going to share this story with you. I know you probably think it's kind of strange. My mother passed. And then years afterwards, I was on my way back from work. I had done something at work just to make myself laugh. I laughed at myself that day because I think, Betty, really, I just made, one of those things where you can't tell nobody what you did. But I was just laughing at myself in the car coming home. And for a brief half second, I heard my mother's laughter coming from the passenger seat.
Mm.
I actually heard her voice and her laughter as if she was sitting right there with me. And I really do believe it. I actually turned to look at her and I said, well, you know what? I know she's physically not there, but spiritually, she's still with me. Spiritually, she still sees me. She still knows what I'm doing. I don't know what she's doing, but I hope she's having a good time. If I know my mom, she's somewhere doing something that she's having a good time. And I know if she's looking back on me, she doesn't want to see me rolling around like that. But if I believe, like I say I believe, I will see her. She is here. I can feel her presence. I can feel her essence.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way I
Uh,
simply. You leave
well,
this body,
and
but you don't leave. Your spirit is still real. The spirit is eternal.
Yeah.
I think in losing someone, I know there's a couple. I think you should get some help or counseling. There's a couple of different stages. Sometimes there's anger, denial, and then finally you get to acceptance. Um, One of the things that has helped me deal with losses is the fact of how I treat somebody while they were alive. I've had people that the last thing they could remember about their mama or their daddy, they was cussing them out. They had an argument. Their sister, brother, cousin. You know, I think the more baggage that you have, the more difficult it is to let go. Because just like my mom died about 2 days before Christmas, people's like, "Man, I know you ain't gonna celebrate Christmas no more. Mama died." I was like, I ain't gonna have a problem. What I'm saying? The holidays, they get depressed. Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
they get depressed. Christmas, New Year, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. Now, I think about the moments that we had together here, and I tend to celebrate those and look at
Mm-hmm.
those memories versus looking at the sadness. I think a lot of people never got closure with some loved ones. Even in a relationship, if you don't have closure, is more difficult to leave. You know, because you wondering if what would have happened, why this didn't happen. But if you have some degree of closure, and I keep that motto of trying not to, you know, have people, especially my family, where I go a day and we upset, mad, and disgruntled with each other because we never know if we're gonna wake up in the morning. So that's been my mindset for years. So it's a lot easier to deal with death, you know. But it was I think the first major person in my family to die was my grandfather. So we were on good terms. Then I had a couple aunts. We were on good terms. And then when my mother, and then you never know about other family members, but we on good terms. I mean, we settled our disagreements, and things of that nature. So it's not as hard, the
Right.
memories, especially if you were the one initiating some of that trauma or some of that drama. And I'm gonna share this with you. There was a lady. She jumped in the casket when her mama died, and she raised all kind of hell when her mom was alive,
Mm.
and she, for years. I'm talking about for years. She was always the one that they had more trauma with when it came down to when her mom's birthday and holiday. And she I don't know if she ever got over it, but she jumped in that cast in that dirt, you know, because she had not to say that everybody that go off at funerals and things are grieving because they did a disservice to the person they laying in the ground, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people hadn't had that type closure. So I believe if you can have closure and treat people as best you can, it's a little easier for
Mhm.
that transition.
Definitely. And
Yeah,
you get
yeah,
to
it
a
is.
point, you get to a point on the holidays. Yes, you miss their physical presence, but then you start replaying the good times that you had with them on Christmas and Thanksgiving. Remember that Thanksgiving when mama forgot to do this and it
Yeah.
was all like that. It was all jacked up and she had made us eat that stuff but we ate it anyway.
Mm,
Remember
mm,
the Valentine's Day when you start remembering the good times. That is such an excellent strategy because you're right, people that don't have closure are those that tend to be dramatic.
Yeah, and then too, I know some people. Well, I'm guilty of it. I When people die, I kept their phone numbers in my phone.
mm,
Because my logic was I don't want to forget them. But then every time I see that phone number, it brings me pain because I've lost them. So I decided I got to get rid of these phone numbers. Take the phone numbers out,
mm.
then it won't bring back the memories of them. They're still in my heart, in my head. I can remember them, but it's not in my face. You know.
And yeah,
So that's the
so
thing, putting it in your face.
I,
So
I just seem to remember the good times that I had with people. I agree with Reginald. If you left the relationship on good standing, then
yeah,
you don't have all the issues. And I don't know, I
Yep.
just seem to be, I catch the joy wherever it is. I just want to catch the joy. I would be looking at remembering what we had and what we did that was so funny. Mama sent me to the store, and instead of buying tuna, we bought some cat food and go back to the she looking at it
Mhm.
like, "What did you buy?" And I'm going like, "Let's eat." And she's going like, "No, but what did you buy?" And I was like, "Oh man, I
Mm.
remember that time. Remember that time when daylight saving time was, and we was an hour late to church, and we got there, and
Ah.
we got there late, and the usher was smiling at us, and did everything in 15 minutes. They dismissed. Remember that time? You know,
Mm.
when I started really missing my mom, I rolled back all the lovely times, all the jokes we had between us, all the fun that we had. Remember that time? I was always eating out of her stuff, but her stuff always
Ah.
seemed to taste better than mine. It could be the same ice cream. I just go to the kitchen and get a spoon. Why'd you get you something? I just want some of yours.
yeah,
I just really believe that the spirit is eternal. It doesn't stop when we're born. We're on a march to the grave. It's true, but the grave is not the end.
Mm,
The spirit is eternally keeps
mm.
going, and just because it's not in this body, we have to open our framework, open our thinking, and say we were somewhere before we came here, and we'll be somewhere after we leave. This is just a spot, a
Mm.
temporary. This is all we know, and that's because when we get locked into this is all I know, then that's when the sadness happens. But we were
Right.
somewhere before we came here, and we'll be somewhere after the babies came from somewhere. Their
yeah.
spirit came
Mm.
from somewhere and was put in this little body. And after our body decay and die, the spirit goes somewhere else. For all you
Mm.
know, my mom could be sitting right there in that chair going, "Girl, told you not to roll your hair like that." A girl, sit up straight. That was her with my sit up straight, sit up straight, sit up straight.
Hmm. So do
Well,
you ever hear your mom or see your mom in you?
No, I look like my dad, but I sound like her. I have her voice. When she passed, I called my auntie to make some arrangements for my mom's funeral. And my auntie busted out crying. I was like, Aunt Katie, Aunt Katie, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? She said, you sound so much like your mother. I do. I have her
mm,
voice. I have her laughter. I have her mannerism. I look like my dad, but I sound and act like my mom.
Yeah,
mm.
yeah. And I find myself when I'm laughing, I hear my mom. I'm going, Dag, I laugh just like my mom.
I mean, I promise you, Sylvia, when things get really funny, I can hear her laughing at me, going like, "Girl, you know, you should not. Girl, what you doing?" And I can hear her actually laughing at me. I mean,
Mm,
and I
mm.
still, it's not the same. It's not the same to physically hug her, but I still enjoy her company, if that makes any
Right.
sense to you.
Yeah, yeah. And hopefully, people will, feel the same thing, not just grieve and grieve. Because I know the pain is going to be there. Because my niece, she's been dead for about 18 years now. And this year is the first time that I really didn't think a whole lot about that death this year.
Mm.
That's been 18 years. The first few years, it was a little hard, and it was harder on my sister. I know it was because she's losing her only daughter, her
Mhm.
first child, and her only daughter. So it was hard on
Wow.
her. So, I get the pain.
Everybody handles grief differently.
Yeah.
And you have to respect everybody's journey for grief. There are those steps of, you know, acceptance, denial, what Reggie was talking about as far as grief is concerned. But everybody takes that process differently. But
Yeah. Yeah,
there's
they
sometimes
do.
there's
And,
sometimes when I wish I could just hug my mom and feel her because she smelled like Noxzema and baking powder.
well,
you know,
Whoa.
you know,
Okay.
well, she liked Noxzema and she spent a lot of time in the kitchen, so she smelled like Noxzema and baking powder. Like cakes and
Okay.
Noxzema. But it's just
Mm.
sometimes I wish I could get that embrace, the actual physical touch. But I know that she's still with me. She's still here.
Mm.
She's still around. She still wants me to have joy in this life.
yeah.
Uh,
And that's what
y-
people got to understand. I know it hurts, but they don't want you to grieve like that. Yes, grieve. It
mhm.
might take a year or 2 or 5. Depends on who it is. If you lose a child, that's hard, because no mother wants to lose their child they don't want their child to leave before they do. So that is hard right there. So that's understandable. But then sometimes people, they just, instead of trying to cope with it, they just dwell in it, and they just lose life for themselves. And I feel like after a period of time, you should start trying to mingle, find yourself again. You lost your loved
Mhm.
one, but try finding yourself, and get back into the midst of things. You got to continue to live,
It's
because I,
Right.
to me, people are like flowers.
Well.
Flowers grow and they die out. They grow and they die out. People are the same way. They
Mhm.
grow and they die out. It's an expected thing, even though we may not like it. And sometimes we have a hard time when our flowers die. And it's the same
Mm.
thing with people. We have a hard time when they die, but we have to keep on moving. And don't
Right.
let it
Right.
take control of us. I mean, because we have a mission on this earth. If
Right.
and on top of that, it affects other people. You know,
Ooh.
you're
Yes.
moaning, and it's okay to moan. People gonna understand that, but then at some point, you're gonna start affecting other people, and you don't want to bring other people down. The way I look at it,
Mhm.
everybody gonna
Right.
hurt. Because I
Well.
heard with my mom, um, it when I go somewhere. Because normally when I travel, I see stuff I buy my mom. I'm always buying for my mom when I'm traveling. But now I can't do that. And when I see something I want my mom to have, I can't get it because she's not here, and it hurts. So,
Mm.
and I'm accepting that, but I'm
yeah, you
moving
have
on.
to.
I'm moving
Right.
on. So
Well. You know. Uh. We have to, and I know it sounds hard when you say we have to. There's a period, a grieving period. That's why, I some type of counseling or something like that. It in our community, the Black and Brown community, we didn't get a lot of counseling for a lot of things.
It's
A lot of times somebody died, they just kept it moving. I think, and not to get way out there, even in America, because people hadn't dealt with grieving. We talking about local people when you're talking about a spouse or a family member. Just think about the people when a celebrity or it could be a major event and they still bringing it up. That you can't talk to them. Listen, man, you can't talk to the drummer, man. Can't bring that up, or he gonna go off. It's a it. You got like it's like You walk around egg, you know, a egg carton, and it makes it difficult for people to come around those people, and then it further isolates them because it pushes them back into some corners where nobody can talk to them because most of the time people don't want to hear you still talking about what happened 10 years ago. They don't heard
Right.
every story you could tell it. So if people out there that have a problem, you find yourself in that situation. I've seen many funeral homes now that have grieving counselors. Even in divorce, they used to just make you sign the paper. They got divorce counselors. They got all these people that come forward to help people because people internalize stuff, and then their behavior starts to go out there into the public. You got people out there that's hurting people based on something that happened to them years ago. So I think some type of counseling. Even when you got a spiritual counseling, that's a bigger counseling. Where you say, well, I can hold on to my spiritual belief and get through this. I know, you know, death is just a part of the equation. I know it's something bigger, something better. But if you don't know those things, you don't have nothing to hang on to. Uh, then it's very difficult, especially men. That's why we see so many men suicidal, self-medicating, men killing themselves early, 30, 40 years old, whether it's, alcohol, even sex, they killing each other, killing themselves, you know, because they can't stop. There's one young guy, he's 40 years old, took so much Viagra till it blew his heart up, but he probably was dealing with some form of grief, some form of denial, and it crept up into his regular life and caused him to have a short life. And that happened with so many of us. So I think counseling is good, and having some type of spiritual coping device. I think women as a whole, you all have your lady friends, y'all talk to them. Guys don't talk. They say, man, what you think about divorce? Man, I don't talk about that. She gone, I'm gone. I'm doing what I'm doing. I just found this new honey, and that brother's suffering, inside. I've had a couple friends, who was in our 40s and 50s when they said the best thing I ever had, divorce. They no longer here. They didn't have. I didn't realize it then. I didn't know what to do for them, but they didn't have the coping mechanism to deal with coming out of a relationship. And they thought that chasing other relationships was gonna, renew all that, but it didn't. Cause them to leave the planet early.
Yeah.
I really
And you know
agree
what?
with you. I really agree with you as far as counseling is concerned. And I am so glad to see that now there's a movement for black men, not just women, but for the black community as a whole to get counseling. It used to be such a
Oh
shameful
yeah.
thing. Oh, you can't go get counseling. You must be crazy or something like that. You can't go to get
Oh
no
yeah.
counseling.
Mhm.
But now
Hmm.
there's this movement now where young black men are even getting involved in just counseling so that they can further their coping mechanism, and that's a big thing, being able to ask for help and knowing I need help, I can't do this myself, and then being able
Mm.
to reach out to somebody for help. The black and brown community has started doing that, and I'm so glad to see that.
Yeah, they are getting counseling, but you know what? I see men, their coping mechanism is find another woman and marry them. Because I've noticed that when they separate, when a man and wife they separate, get a divorce, that man is quickly to get another wife. I've seen it. If their wife die, they get married again real quick.
No comment.
Well,
They
sometimes
get
that's good, and
Oh,
a lot of guys believe that they can, and I'm not. Some guys that believe that they can replace you, it's kind of like I'll get another one. Y'all come a dime a dozen. You find out that they are not as happy as they were. Even in that relationship, because I knew a lady that was married to a guy that she was a rebound wife, meaning that she
mm,
came a couple months after the divorce, a year or whatever. But he said, man, that's all he talked about was her, how she cooked, how she did it. He, because he had a grieving process that he never did cope with. He thought by hopping into another relationship, forgetting about that family. Now, some guys can do it; they can turn the switch off,
I mean,
and
it's
the lady said,
it's not just true for men. Women have a tendency
mm,
to say, "I'm just gonna go get another guy." I mean,
"Yeah,
old people say guys are like a bus, honey. Just wait 15 minutes, another one will be right by.
no, right," you know.
But the deal is, like I think I mentioned this, if you invite, you get into another relationship, right? What you took into that relationship is you. That's the common factor of both relationships. And so you're bound to do some of the same tendencies and some of the same things. That's where I think people have stopped being accountable. It's a big portion to be accountable for what I did to cause the failure of a relationship. Because all you're going to do is take that same thing into another relationship. I think there's a portion in my book where I say, just plainly, God's not going to send anybody into the zoo. That's you. He's going to wait until you work some of these issues out and then send you
Mm,
someone that's comparable for you.
Yeah, definitely do that. And a lot of time, uh, people be holding on to relationships because they feel like this is for them. But sometimes God is trying to take those people away from you to put the right person in your life. But you don't see that.
mm,
All you see is you don't want to lose them. You don't want to lose them. But that person you don't
yeah,
want to lose is not good for you. And God is trying to take them away, but you keep holding on.
I've
Because He
seen
has
so
somebody
well,
better for you.
I've seen so many women just stay in abusive relationships that are either physically abusive or mentally abusive, and just stay. And I just don't understand that part. You've got to love yourself to the point that says that I am worthy to be involved in a relationship that is good for me.
Yeah,
mm.
yeah, you got to. Because look, me, I love me.
And
But you
it's
know,
a it's a
the
trickle down
fear,
effect. I'm
the
sorry.
fear, I would say, fear of being alone. And then, some women, I remember this lady, she said, I was married for 48 years, and 49 of them was miserable. But the Lord told me to stay with him, man. And she was so glad when she put him in the ground. I think she married a younger guy, you know, uh, but, some people, believe that it's going to be eternal. I was looking at, not to get Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter's been married, I think, over 60 years or something like that. And they said some people, when they married that long, they don't found their life partner. Usually they die within. Johnny Cash did that. Johnny Cash and that was his second wife, June Carter. They died within a little bit of each other. Some people say they grieved themselves to death, but
Out of heart.
they're different things. But life is important, and living is a powerful thing. I think we could do it. We should do it at the highest levels we can. So if you got somebody or you coming out of a relationship, it's good to be at peace with yourself. Because if you're not at peace with yourself, it'll be very difficult for you to be at peace in a relationship and even dealing with any other family members. So,
It's a trickle down effect to what you do in your relationships sets the pattern for what your children will do in their relationships. And a lot of
Hmm.
mm,
women don't see that. What you do in yours, they're going to use that pattern as to what they're going to do in theirs. And so you need to get this right. You need to do something healthy and something healthy for yourself to be involved in the
mm,
right relationship. And just be patient. Just be patient until that relationship happens for you.
Yeah. And evaluate yourself too. Is it something that I did wrong? Is it something that they did wrong? Do I need to fix me? Is it something I need to repair before I get into the next relationship? That is
mm.
important too, because sometimes people, because I know some guys say, all my wife do is just fuss, fuss, fuss. I get tired of all of this nagging. But then are you causing them to nag? And then some women just naturally nag, you know? So,
I
but,
heard.
because they want it right. They want it right, so they just nag. Do this, you shouldn't do this. And, some people have this controlling thing and they don't realize they're controlling, and how they affect their partners. So you have to be conscious of that. And my thing is pick your battles wisely, so you won't be running off your
Ooh.
mate. Because some mates, they just fuss, 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 every little thing. Sometimes everything is not worth fighting over. So you have to take
Mhm.
that into consideration too. Fix your mind, fix your mind before you get into relationships, and think about things twice before you do it. That's the way
Mm.
I look at it. Just think about it, because you don't want to take everything you did in this relationship to the next one. If this one ends, when you go to the next one, you want to go with improvement. This is the better me.
Ah.
That's
You
what people have a hard time. It's the ego. It's the ego saying that I was so good in this relationship. There's something
Mm.
that you could have been better at in that relationship. You could have been better at communication. You could have been better at showing affection. You could have been better at maybe learning this person's love language, whatever. There's something that you could have improved on in that relationship. You need to
hmm
find that, and
Mm.
then the next time you're in one, you can apply it. But I think my biggest takeaway is what you do in this relationship trickles down to your kids, and they use you as a pattern.
Yep, they will do that. That they will do. So we have ran out of time. It is time for us to be leaving here. But I just want to say separation is not easy for everybody. But some people, when they separate, it's a breath of fresh air. I'm finally rid of this person, you know? So there's no grieving. And those people who are going through this grief, um, people be patient with them, show them love, and sometimes just get them out and do things with them, you
Mm-hmm.
know, go party, dancing, or something, eat, cooking dinners or something. Do something to help a person get over their grief, and don't let them stay in it forever, because some people they will, but they feel like they got to grieve, grieve, grieve. So, but life goes on, and you got to continue to live on. And as far as separating, it's over. If it's over, it's over. Okay. I know sometimes they might say, "Okay, we can work this out." Sometimes when you separate, you find out what your problems were, and you get back together, and it's all good. Because you learn from your mistakes the first go round, and so when you try it again, things can be better. But we still need to work on ourselves and practice, and don't put everybody in your business either. And if you're in a relationship where there's abuse and neglect, you don't need to be in that kind of relationship. And if you feel like your life is in danger, be sure you tell somebody, because if you leave that person after so much abuse and they decide to kill you, of course they might want to bury you and nobody know about it. Okay, but if you tell
Well,
somebody, they're gonna be looking for them. You know,
I'm a, I'm
hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. But you got to let somebody know. I fear for my life. This person is dangerous. He threatened me before. I need to
Mhm.
leave. And sometimes if you tell a person that you need to leave, they will help you to leave. They will pack your
Mm.
stuff up while that guy is gone and ship you off and won't tell a soul where you at. But you got to reach out and let somebody know. Cause that separation thing, cause he will come back with that gun. I can't have you. Ain't nobody gonna have you. Cause I've known for a man to burn up all of his kids. You know,
Whoa.
that's not a way to do it. I don't remember any women. Well, there have been women who killed their
Oh
kids
yeah,
for
no, yeah,
another man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Plenty of
yeah.
y'all in this.
But
Don't lump it all on us.
yeah, there have been some women who killed their kids
Ooh.
for another man because the man didn't want the children, so she got rid of them. Which I'm not going to speak on that woman, because you know that's a woman.
Give us a power thought. All right.
Yeah,
That was,
but
You see, it's just too much drama. You see all these things before they explode. Little, then little happens, and little happens, and little happens, and then these big explosions happen. You need to get out while it's still small. You need to
yep,
ask for help. But the deal is, nobody wants to ask for help because they feel it's shameful. I'm so
mm,
embarrassed that this is happening to me. you need to drop the shame and ask for the help that you
Yep.
need.
Yeah, because you didn't do anything wrong, so there's nothing for you to be ashamed of. It's you're the victim, So I need help. Somebody's doing this to me. Of course, it's gonna be embarrassing. You don't want nobody to know that your spouse is beating up on you or anything like that, or dogging you out or threatening to kill you. You don't want anybody to know that. But you got to ask for help if you want to stay alive. If you want to see your children, especially, and it's harder when you have children involved to leave. So you have to
Right.
prepare and get help. You have to. That is important right there. Let somebody know. You know, you got to get help. Prayer. They say pray on it, because I remember back in the day, the parents would say, just pray on it, just stay with him, he'll be all right. Women stay there with these relationships and let these men beat them to death because the parents told them to stay. But
No, I believe when you pray on it, you hear from God, and God will tell you, baby, I love you. Time to go. Pack your bags. It's time to rock out. Time to rock out,
exactly.
baby girl. Time to pack it up.
Yep, exactly. And sometimes just for protection, you might need to grab you a pea shooter and hide it around somewhere. Yep, because if it's like this, my thought is do unto others before they do unto you. You know, if you know, if you know that they are capable of shooting you or killing you and hurting you, be prepared. I'm not gonna let you kill me. If you hit me, I'm telling you now, you better stop. Don't do it again. And if you continue on, I'm gonna continue on too. That's the way I look at it.
Stop, drop, and roll on out.
Huh?
I said, stop, drop, and roll on out. There's no way
Uh-huh.
that a loving God is a loving father, and there's no way that a loving father would have you stay in a place where you're being abused and hurt, mentally or emotionally. So people say, pray on it. When I prayed on it, he said, time to go. I love you. You've done everything you can to be a good wife to this person. It's not your fault. Time to go. And
Yeah.
you
Keep it
see
moving.
you see all these little increments. 1, 2, it gets louder and louder and louder before the big drama. Before the big drama pops off, you need to leave while it's small.
Yeah. And some people they really hate to leave because they've been in this relationship, and how is it going to look in the community for us to separate? But then
Because you're
when you
being alive.
separate, you're going to feel so good. It's like this
Oh yeah.
big burden has lifted off of you when you leave a person who's been abusive and just dogging you out. You
I'll
know?
be honest with you. When I left, the first few nights I cried because I actually missed him. I missed the argument. I missed the interaction with a person, somebody being around. But then as time went on, I was like, oh, this is so peaceful. This is so much more peaceful than I would have had it had I been with him. This is so much better for my spirit. And what's better for my spirit is better for the spirit of my kids. They didn't
Yep,
need all that. They didn't need all that drama around them. So
exactly. And it does affect the kids because sometimes they get stressed out too and they start acting up in school. If they see daddy beating up on mom, they're going to take it out on the kids at school.
I've,
It's going to
as a
mess with their grades and everything.
as a teacher, I've seen kids come to school really sad. And one little girl came in, she had been divorced. Her parents had split, but they divorced her. They stopped combing her hair. They stopped, they didn't button her shirt. And so I kept extra combs. I kept extra ribbons in my drawer. And I would grab her before the day started and tighten up her ponytails and put the ribbons on it. But they actually divorced the kid. I've seen
Both of the
older,
parents?
they just stopped taking care of her. They stopped giving her the attention that she needed. I've seen places where a fifth grade boy came to school with a big black eye, and I was like, what happened? I said, don't tell me you failed, because nobody falls like that. So just go on and tell Miss Clemens what happened. The boyfriend was attacking mom. And so he put himself between the boyfriend, and the boyfriend hit him in the face. And that's what happened.
Wow.
See, he didn't want to come tell me, he didn't want to come tell anybody that, but I was his trusted person. And so he came and told me.
Yeah.
And so, I, as a teacher, had an obligation to report it to the authorities, because that's just what happens. But You have to think about these environments. They do affect children. I've seen so many kids come in where parents have separated, parents have divorced or split. Not even people that have been married, just people that had long-term relationships. They come
Right.
in and the kids are so affected. And that was one of the motivations for writing the book, because you need to know how to be able to support your kids and their emotions through this journey of you being divorced or separated.
Yeah. Because sometimes the kids already feel like they're the cause of their parents being separated, So, and you got to let
And
them know you weren't the fault, you
you
know?
just have to talk to them really good.
Yeah.
My daughter was like 5, so she was very aware of things that were not right in the relationship between me and my ex-husband. She was very aware. She's 5 years old. My son was only 3, and so he would
Mm.
sometimes ask, "Why don't you and Daddy get back together? I want you and Daddy to get back together." And my daughter would turn to him and say, "You don't want them two together. No, let me tell you, you don't want that."
Yeah.
But my leaving him made a better life for them. It was better for
Mm.
me and it was better for the children. And that's just, it put me in a better, more peaceful. But yeah, it's hard to be a single parent. It's a lot of responsibility. Everything falls in your lap, everything. But it's a peaceful state of mind when you go to bed. There's no argument, there's no war. And my kids can crawl up in the bed beside me and go, "Mommy, read me a story." But
Yeah.
like I said, my 3-year-old would go, "You and y'all be together." And my daughter, 5-year-old, said, "You don't want, no, that's not something you want, brother. No, you don't want that." So you have to really consider what the separation, what this divorce is doing to your kids.
Right. Right. Oh, okay. So with that in mind, people, bear in mind that separation is not always bad. Sometimes it's really good. The loss, we're gonna grieve. I know sometimes it takes years and years for people to get over the loss of a loved one, but don't just dwell on it. Try to keep living. Okay, you don't want to die with that person. You want to keep living. Remember the pain. The memory of that person is going to always be there. And the love you have for that person is going to always be there. So cherish the moments you have with your loved ones this day. Cherish the moments you have with your loved ones. And so when they leave, you have those memories to cherish, okay? And don't just dwell on, you got to keep living. You got to keep living because there's someone else who's depending on your strength to keep going. So keep on going. And with that separation, um, we got to deal with it. We got to deal with it. It's going to be a loss and it's going to be pain, but it can happen and you can get through it. Find things to do. Go out with your girlfriends or your boys or whatever. Do things that make you happy. Okay, don't dwell on this loss. That's what people do a lot of times. They dwell on the loss. Don't dwell on the loss. Sometimes that loss is the best thing that ever happened to you. So don't dwell on it. Get up and live again. Fly, go do things, take trips, everything. So until next week, we're going to say goodbye. And don't forget to pick up your book, Power Thoughts, at A&K. Uh, A&K Productions.com. A&K Productions.com. Pick up your books, Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. And there are some things in there will help you to cope with grief and loss and everything else. Okay? Until then, we're going to say goodbye and y'all have a good day. This is Sylvia Hayes with Good News at Primetime. Talk to you later.